Welcome to the Underdog Fantasy Live Draft Show. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I'm here with Matt Gajewski. You can find him on Twitter at Matt_Gajewski. And this show is going to be sponsored by Underdog. We're going to be ripping an Underdog draft. Happy to be here with you. Excited to be doing this. Is our first live draft together, Gajewski. I'm excited to do it. Are you ready to be doing a Best Ball Mania draft shooting for $4 million?
Yeah, I'm excited. I can't remember the last time I did one of these live on stream. It's been a while. I think maybe me and Lofty did a couple last year, but certainly never with you. So this is kind of a blast from the past with our showdown days. But yeah, I'm pumped.
I know it's been a little while, and I joke kind of when I say they were shooting for $4 million. The top prize in Underdog is $3 million for the playoffs, but there is also $1 million top prize in the regular season, so that you can theoretically win $4 million. Seems pretty unlikely that the same lineup is going to win both the regular season and the playoffs contest on Underdog, but we can do it, right? We can at least shoot for $4 million. And guys, if you have not yet signed up for Underdog, we do have this. You can see the link is in the description of this video. You can get your first deposit matched up to $100 on Underdog. So if you want to play 8 entries into the Underdog into BBM4, it's just going to be, you put $100 in, they're going to match your $100. You're going to have $200 in there. You can get 8 entries into BBM4. Shoot for $4 million yourself, or maybe you're going to be a little bit more realistic. You're going to shoot for $1 million. If you're just going to shoot for that regular season, or I think second place in the playoffs is also $1 million. So a lot of ways to win a lot of money in this contest. I'm excited about it. Matt, have you seen the new contest that Underdog came out with today at all?
Yeah, I did see a little bit of talk about it on Twitter. I know it has something to do with the weekly scores. I didn't dive too much into the details just yet, but I think I kind of got the gist of it. But one thing is really cool that they're playing around with some of their different draft types. So it's not just the main one. I know they did their rookies and sophomores draft, but they really continue to innovate over there.
Yeah, I love the way they keep innovating, and this is totally different. I mean, it's going to be a completely different strategy, and we're not going to do one of these. We're going to do a BBM4, but because I honestly I want to think about it a little bit more. So the way this works is you draft at the beginning of the year, but then every week, every lineup is going to be facing off for just that week. So every week, first place is going to be $20,000, second place $10,000, and they have an extremely flat payout structure. So this is another thing. Another way if you want to get your money in good, you can enter, sign up, use our code, get your deposit matched, and enter a ton of lineups into this one. It's just going to be $15, and it's a really flat, kind of cool payout structure here each week. So this is every single week. These prizes are going to be paid out. The top 7,300 going to get some money from this. Looks really cool to me. But I want to study it a little bit more. I think that it's going to be like, I think that the way I'm going to approach it is I'm going to be like looking at individual weeks. Like I'm just going to try to win week 6, or I'm just going to try to win week 8, or like look at specific weeks where I think that there are good matchups to be had, and build in some correlations. I think that's going to be my approach in general. But I want to give that one a little bit more thought. Here we're going to do a Best Ball Mania 4 draft, and I've put your rankings in, Matt. And if you guys want to use Matt's rankings, it's very simple. You just go to our Best Ball page. So top of the Stochastic page, you go to NFL, you go to Best Ball rankings, and I have it pulled up here. But then once you are on this page, it's really easy. You go, and I'll do an instructional video that you can just find this quicker, but you just click CSV here. It's going to give you a CSV file. Then you just go straight to Underdog, go to the rankings page, NFL 2023 season, CSV upload, download, and you can just click here, put those rankings in there and save it, and you have Matt's rankings right in there. So it's very, very easy to use. I'm excited to be drafting. Matt, I noticed that some of your rankings are pretty different from ADP. You and I are going to do a show next week, I think, discussing some of the bigger differences, but we'll be able to see it while we're drafting here too. Some of the big differences between your rankings and the ADP, because we're going to see. I noticed like Bryce Young is one example that you have ranked way ahead of where ADP is, and those are, I think, good spots to target when you can find players where you differ significantly from ADP. Those are generally going to be sharp plays, I think. So I'm looking forward to doing that. But and anything else you want to say? Are you ready to rip off a draft, Matt? Do you have anything else that you want to say about your rankings? Anything like that?
No, are we already entered?
We are not entered. I'm about to enter. Are you
yeah, let's enter it and let's get it going.
All right, we are starting a draft here.
So we'll talk about the rankings a lot, I'm sure, during the video. The one thing I like struggle with a little bit here is, Bryce Young, we have him well ahead of ADP. Should we artificially bump him down Or should we just rely on the user to know ADP a little bit and be like, okay, Bryce Young's a value. I don't need to take him in round 10. I can wait till round 15 to still get him. So that's the only thing I'm debating changing about the rankings. But yeah, you guys will get to see who we're a little bit more aggressive on in these leagues.
I was gonna bring up that exact thing for you because it is like, okay, just because you have him ranked at, I don't know, 120 or whatever, that doesn't mean that we actually want to draft him at 120 because
Yeah.
ADP is like 175 or something. So like you can still wait there a little bit. So my understanding of your rankings as they are right now, at least, is you went through, you did projections, like projected fantasy points for every player for the year, and then you just you looked at positional scarcity where there are breaks and stuff, and you ranked according to projection, not factored in ADP. Is that correct?
Yep, for the most part. The only thing where that differs a little bit is late in drafts where you have pure handcuffs versus backs that are maybe never going to take on a full-time role versus wide receivers, that if Amon-Ra St. Brown goes down, like there's not one guy that takes over all that stuff. So at the end, it's kind of more for upside, but for the most part, I think you nailed the guys that are legitimate contributors.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting discussion of like, should you be trying to hedge a little, and not even hedge, but like make it easier for people to see like where you like players, like where you actually want to draft them given the ADP, as opposed to like where you just have them ranked in terms of fantasy points. It's kind of an interesting discussion. The best way to, I think I like the way you did it, where you can just see like straight up raw projections where you have it, and then I can use my own decision points of like, all right, I'm going to move this guy up or I'm going to move this guy down to be a little bit more in line with ADP, just so like I'm not being, just so I remember that they're there. I don't know. There's a little bit of gamesmanship to how you want to use the rankings, but I think just having them how it is, it's a fun way to be able to see like where you are very different than the field too. So it should be fun.
Yeah, I think the last thing I'll say on the rankings is I wouldn't use these to like bet season long props. For the most part, I'm projecting everybody for the same amount of time, assuming they're a starter, like the quarterbacks. Generally, quarterbacks are missing somewhere around 1.5 games per year. So each of them are projected for that, unless there's some sort of rotational role, like in Tennessee, that's not the case. But for the most part, the starters are projected for a certain amount. And in the prop market, you're going to see players projected for less due to injuries and stuff, which is really hard to do. And in these tournaments, we don't care about injuries. We need guys to play the whole year regardless to win. So that's something I've left consistent. Like Keenan Allen's projected well ahead of his season long prop, but that's because we're not drafting for season long props here. We need Keenan Allen to play every game this year if we're going to actually win these tournaments, or at least most of them, which is
Right.
kind of how I've left them in the projections. That's the only thing I'll clear up.
Okay, interesting. I like that. It's an good to know like what the thinking is, like what the approach is exactly. We're up.
Unless like Javonte Williams or someone that has an injury, you know what I mean? Like if they're or Kyler, if they're coming into the year with an injury, then
we are
they're
up.
not.
We are up to pick.
Oh, I didn't even know we were on.
Oh yeah. We're at the turn. We have the 12-13 back to back.
Oh,
In terms of your rankings, we got Bijan and Amon-Ra. What do you think about that?
that's exactly who I'd take.
All right. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Get one running back, one early round running back, one early round stud receiver. I like it. That's a good start to the draft for us.
Yeah,
Didn't mean to interrupt you. I just want to make sure we get our pick in. We're in
no.
agreement.
If I'm talking about something and it's a little bit smaller on my screen than it normally is when I do drafts.
Yep.
So tell me when we're close to being up.
Okay, I'll do that. Good to see
But yeah,
Jordan.
that's exactly who I would take with those two picks.
Yeah, it's not like I don't know what to think of Bijan. Like I know that they're going to be a high volume running offense in Atlanta is at least our expectation. But then it's like, man, Tyler Algier was so efficient last year. Like how much is he going to be in the mix? It's kind of a hard situation to gauge. But like they spent an early pick on Bijan. My assumption is they're going to use him a good amount. It seems like you like him as a first round pick, right?
Yeah, and we're right around consensus on him. We're actually behind a couple other people in the industry. So getting him in that spot, I think, is solid. I'm interested to see where he goes throughout the process. But overall, I think Bijan should rightfully be, that RB3-4 discussion. If he falls to 5, he's a smash.
Yep. And it's kind of an interesting spot where we're going to be picking on the turnaround, because now we're going to be 36 and 37 are going to be our next picks. It's sort of a like, it's not my favorite spot to pick unless certain people fall. Like it can be like if people don't draft exactly how I would draft, sometimes you can get players that fall there that are kind of interesting, but a little bit of a tough spot picking at 36 and 37. We'll be interested to see who we have coming up next. So you like Josh Jacobs better than, I mean, you can see here, Derrick Henry has a higher ADP than Josh Jacobs. Tony Pollard well ahead of Josh Jacobs. You are a believer in Josh Jacobs, and Ramondre Stevenson also has a higher ADP. So you're Josh Jacobs, you have higher than the field on him. Is that, do you think that might be like maybe his ADP is a little bit suppressed because of some concerns about him holding out, something like that?
Yeah, and since the recent news, I think that was yesterday that came out or the day before, I haven't updated that. It's hard to say how serious those are. If he's actually going to hold out, he's going to drop. As far as Tony Pollard, people want to discount certain backs in the NFL because they might sign Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, and then they don't want to discount others. Dallas is a team that's been rumored to be potentially looking at a running back, but people seem to just be ignoring the fact that they've been linked to others. Meanwhile, in other situations, they're more than happy to discount the running back. So I think there's a little bit of selection bias there.
Yeah.
And I think we're just trying to appropriately weight that.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely some selection bias there. I've even heard like they could sign Zeke again. I thought I heard, which to be honest, that would be that would be a nightmare for me as somebody who like really doesn't have. I don't think I've drafted maybe zero Zeke so far. And if he does sign back in Dallas, I think that's the one spot where he could sign and like actually get significant volume if he goes back to Dallas, because for some reason they love running Zeke instead of Pollard there. But yeah, there's at least some threat there.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I've been hammering Zeke.
Oh, have you really? Man.
Yeah, I've been hammering the backs that aren't signed. They're instantly going to go up in ADP.
You think regardless of where they sign, they're going to?
Assuming they just don't get signed to some dust contract, but I don't think that's the case. And I think there's plenty of situations that are thin enough.
All right.
We'll see. If Zeke goes to, I don't know, Seattle, he's not going to play much, but I don't think they're going to be looking at it back. I think it's probably the teams we expect to look at running back, like Cleveland, some of the other places that are a little lower, weaker.
But you think so? Even with how good Nick Chubb is, you think that Cleveland, like Zeke, would come in and get like they didn't use Kareem Hunt very much last year, so like I don't know that it's that likely that he would get. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're like, we need to rest Nick Chubb a little bit because they've used him so much. I just it's a hard situation to gauge. Yeah, I don't know. I was
Yeah,
gonna say you're probably right.
they've done both. They've used Kareem Hunt with Nick Chubb, and then he was a little inefficient last year, and they took the gas off with him. So I don't know. They've shown the willingness to do both.
But then like that's the thing for me. The thing with Zeke is like he's not particularly efficient at this point in his career. So I'm like, do we want to, like, if they're only going to use him if he's efficient? All right, we are coming up, so we should make our pick coming up. I've been drafting a lot of Lamar Jackson. Just trying to, even when I can't get to Mark Andrews, I feel like they're going to be throwing it a lot in Baltimore. I think Lamar Jackson might be due for a big year, and he's also like the last of what I consider like the elite quarterbacks. I'm not saying that we should go to him here. I'm willing to hear what you think, what you would like to do at the turn here. So we've got Bijan and Amon-Ra. We don't have anybody that we need to be correlating at this point in the draft. Who do you like here?
Yeah, to your point, I love Lamar. I think where he is right now, we're going to get one of these two receivers at the top, and probably Lamar, assuming the person isn't listening to this show.
He might be. A lot of people do. They see we go live, they join the draft, and then they screw us. All right. You want to go Keenan Lamar?
Yeah, absolutely.
Love it. I'm also big on the Chargers. Those are two offenses that I'm pretty big on this year. Chargers and Baltimore.
For sure. With Lamar, to your point, you don't need Andrews. He's really easy to stack late. You have Bateman, Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham. Those are all 8th through 10th round picks, depending on the draft. Really easy to grab one of them. Plus, they all go in the same range. The likelihood that like 3 get triple tap before you're up is unlikely. And they have a new OC. I like Todd Monken a lot, formerly of the NFL, was with the Cleveland Browns, kind of the scapegoat for that team when they were really bad. But then hyper successful with Georgia with a variety of players and a variety of skill sets. Ran a lot of double tight end, went 3 wide at times. Really good deep thrower. Like he calls a lot of deep shots downfield. So I think Monken's going to be good for Lamar. And then Keenan, he's one of these guys that's wildly under projected. Like there's this big gap right now. Places are projecting Herbert. If you look at like the season long props, Herbert will be projected for like 4,700 yards. Keenan Allen will be at like 888.
Right.
And those two things just don't add up projection wise. On the back end, you can't have Herbert at 47 yards and Keenan Allen at 850.
Right.
One of those is going to be off. And in tournaments like this, I'm very willing to take Keenan Allen where he's going. It's just a health thing with him.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you, and it is very helpful having those 3 running backs that you can, or sorry, those 3 receivers that you can stack. Going back to talking about Baltimore, and you have them ranked exactly how I have them ranked: Bateman, Flowers, Beckham, and how much of a gap do you have between them? Because I don't know what to do with Odell Beckham. Like he's clearly got the pedigree, like he's got the experience, and I think that we might be like there's at least some chance that we are underrating Odell Beckham like as an industry, just because it's like they've got these young exciting players. Like those guys are probably going to be the top receivers. He's probably the wide receiver 3, but like it's a hard situation to gauge. Do you agree with how far back do you have OBJ as opposed to those guys? And I guess I can scroll down here in case you don't know off the top of your head.
Yeah, no, I do know. I have it pulled up too.
Okay.
He's a decent ways projected back, but it's still like in line. Like I've gotten Odell Beckham in drafts where he's fallen. The thing is that a lot of these drafts he goes before Bateman and before Zay Flowers.
I know. Well, particularly
So
not so much on Underdog. I know that has been the case. I think that's more the case on DraftKings. They
it is on DraftKings, yeah.
Yeah. And I saw we got a question actually from Ryan asking, does the draft strategy change much from Underdog versus DraftKings? I mean, it's half PPR on Underdog and it's just 18 rounds instead of 20. So I would say in general, you're not drafting. I mean, you're probably less. I'm never drafting 4 quarterbacks on Underdog. I don't know if I would anyway on DK. Do you have any general thoughts on like what are the big differences here?
Yeah, there's some differences in the payout structures of these tournaments. If I'm not mistaken, Drafters is just regular season only. They don't really have a playoff structure.
He was asking about DraftKings versus.
DraftKings.
Yeah,
a couple of the major differences. DraftKings, for whatever reason, is less receiver heavy than Underdog. This has nothing to do with the actual scoring platforms, but receivers are really elevated on Underdog right now. And I think you just need to think about that as you go into your drafts. You can build some super RB teams on Underdog.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you also have the bonuses, those DFS bonuses, 100-yard bonuses for rushing, receiving, and then the 300-yard bonus for passing. Those are in play, and those are incorporated into our projections as well. So that's all taken care of for you, but those are the differences.
Yeah, and you don't have those on Underdog in case that's anybody doesn't know the format. You don't have like bonuses for 300 yards, 100 yards receiving, that kind of stuff on Underdog. So yeah, it's just different scoring and 18 rounds versus 20. Speaking of people watching the show and doing the draft with us, I see that Felix Castro is here in chat. He's also in this draft with us. How's it going, Felix? Hugo says, afternoon, fellas. Way behind on best ball this year, so now more than ever, I appreciate the copious info. Yeah, we're going to have a lot of best ball content, so hopefully we can get you on the right track here. All right, our pick. We're about 5 away here. I'm kind of hoping that we can get one of these running backs that's towards the top for us.
Yeah. One thing, Neil, as we go through this, I think we should go like back and forth between ADP ranks and in like my personal ranks, if that's what you have up right now. Sometimes I'm willing to like make a concession with players that I might be a little lower on if they're way below ADP. So like a guy I drafted the other day was Derek Carr because I had already drafted Olave. He was about 2 rounds below ADP. I mean, in that case, I don't want zero exposure to the guys we're low on, in situations like that. So I do like switching between the ranks and the ADP just to see where guys are.
I don't think I know how to do that.
I think you can just click ADP at the top if you scroll up.
If I do, oops.
Not the player. There should be, maybe not.
So
you can do it on DraftKings.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can do it here. So we are up. What do you, Alexander Madison would you go Alexander Madison here?
Yes.
Okay. I consider myself a bye week bro, meaning I factor it in pretty heavily. So Bijan Robinson being round 11, Madison bye week in 13. I like that they're not the same bye week. Where would you go here? Do you like going Godwin? He's up next for you. We could go Miles Sanders, anybody else. We don't really have any other correlations that we built around here.
No, I would go either Godwin or Tyler Lockett, probably. I don't think we need another possession receiver because we have Keenan.
Okay.
So that's like the tiebreaker for Deontay with me.
All right. I'm going to go.
Godwin's like that a little bit, but I think he offers a little more.
All right. We're going Godwin.
We kind of do have 3 like slotty receivers.
Does it matter? Like I guess I'm curious why you care about that for this scoring system.
It's probably just bias.
Okay, just like you want to build like an NFL roster kind of.
Yeah.
So like,
honestly, it's probably just bias.
I mean, there is I think a little bit more of like upside versus floor involved in like where you play, where the receiver plays. So there is some logic to it. But that is funny that like you're probably just thinking like a GM a little bit like I don't want to have only slot receivers on my team. Whereas I'm like I don't even think about like that. I just think about the points upside.
Yeah, I think that just comes from doing projections and being in the weeds with these guys in like preseason and stuff. It's
Yeah,
hard to get out of your head.
yeah, I'm sure that is a factor for you a little bit. Um,
But I like our roster so far. It's actually pretty
I do too.
balanced.
Yeah, and it's I mean, speaking of me being a bye week bro, like probably if I had thought about it a little bit, I would have gone to actually Lockett is also bye week 5, so that wouldn't have even been a tiebreaker there. So yeah, we got the 9-5-5, which I don't really care that much. We're gonna probably draft 8 or 9 receivers, so like we just can't have we probably don't want 5 of them to have the same bye week, but if several, if 3 or 4 of them do, probably not actually a big deal. But sometimes that can be a tiebreaker for me, and it's also I think I don't even know that's necessarily like matters that much in terms of advance rate going to like different bye weeks for guys, but I think it also helps me to spread out my exposure a little bit, just like using that as a bye week of like, okay, I usually like I'm inclined to draft Chris Godwin in that spot every time. Sometimes that can lead me to a different receiver that's kind of in the same clumping there. So I think that it kind of can help just in terms of spreading out my exposure a little bit.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
But yeah, I think that we're off to a pretty good start here. I like the team that we've got going. And yeah, Felix says that you cannot actually do that here. We can't switch to ADP. We can
Dang.
kind of look, we can see what the ADPs are here. So like you clearly have Javonte Williams much higher than the rest. And honestly, since I started using your rankings, I've been drafting a lot more Javonte Williams, and I'm happy with that. Like I was not getting to a ton of Javonte Williams previously, and I think that was kind of a mistake because I do think like he is a bimodal. Like he's either going to be playing the whole year and fantastic, or he's going to miss part of the year and still might be fantastic for a good portion of the year. So he's somebody that like you're clearly higher on than the industry, and I think that I'm sold. What do you agree with that? That it's just like he's kind of boomer bust. Like if he plays the whole year, like he's going to be great at this ADP.
I mean, he's already been practicing in OTAs. I don't see how he doesn't play the whole year. And I think people are lagging on this. I mean, in
I,
OTAs, it's not like you're doing like contact and stuff, but OTAs is also basically meaningless for Javonte Williams. There's no point to have him doing anything if he's not, like on track to play week 1. So I think this is a disconnect between like Brees Hall versus Javonte Williams. If you read the reports, like I would be shocked if Javonte doesn't play the whole year.
yeah, that's
I
that's
think,
my expectation.
yeah, I think P Ryan's one of the most overrated players for the same reason.
Yeah, and I've not been drafting a ton of P run either. Yeah, I think that it's kind of a smash spot. It's been sort of when I do zero RB, like I'm willing to reach for Javonte Williams to be my RB1 because I do think that he has potential to be like a top 5 running back. Like, do you think that's within his range of outcomes? Top 5 RB?
Yeah, I think you might need something to go your way just because we have so many guys in good spots. Like Ramondre doesn't really have a lot of competition. Pollard doesn't,
Yeah,
and Chubb doesn't. Like these guys that have kind of been blocked for a little bit. I think you probably need some injuries or need like Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette on one of those rosters. But I think he's in the conversation for sure. That's going to be a run heavy offense. I think people kind of have it misconstrued, and we'll probably talk about this with QB as well. They kind of look at Sean Payton from the Drew Brees era, and even at the end of that, and then towards the, like the Jameis Winston days, they were super run heavy. All of the Denver beats are anticipating this being a run focused Denver offense. Now they're going to lose some games because they play in the AFC West, tough division, but I don't think Denver is going to be airing it out. I prefer a lot of quarterbacks to Russell Wilson, and for that same reason, I like the Denver backs. And with Javante's practice reports being so good so far, I think he's a smash right now.
yeah, I think it was great. And when I say that he could be a top 5 running back, I'm not saying that I'm anticipating. I'm saying like it's within his range of outcomes. But I think that you laid it out pretty well. Like things would have to go pretty sideways for him to be a top 5 running back. But I think top 10 is like within a very realistic range of outcomes for him. And I don't know what so he's going as the RB29 overall.
Yeah.
Maybe
Sorry, I see we're up. He might be a guy we want to wait on just because we can usually get him later. We're kind of close to ADP, so I don't know if you want to test
yeah,
it.
I don't
What do
think
you
that we're
think?
gonna get him. I mean, it's gonna be 24 picks before our next one. So like given
Okay.
where we're coming up next, I don't think we're
Yeah,
gonna be
that's
able to get
true.
him. Yeah, this is kind of an RB dead zone for me. I mean, there's okay, like Zach Charbonnet, that kind of pick there. I wouldn't hate going Javante and Darren Waller. How would you feel about that? Or
I love that. I was just going to say I would probably go either Javante or James Conner, depending on who's there. assuming we can get Javonte, him, and then Darren Waller. Love Darren Waller.
Yeah, I'm a huge Darren Waller fan this year. I've been drafting him everywhere. Hopefully, yeah, okay. I did just get them. I keep on forgetting that I have. Oh, we could have gone. Okay, we're probably not going to get. We should have gone with one of our Baltimore receivers there. That was kind of a brain fart by me.
That's okay. Like, of all the quarterbacks, Lamar's probably the one, maybe Justin Fields, that if you run him naked, you're most comfortable with, because if he plays 17 games, he's rushing for 1,000 yards.
Yeah,
So I mean, his upside is a little bit different in the way you access it. So
yeah,
I
that was.
definitely want him stacked, but if we're picking on the turn and we've got 24 picks and it just doesn't line up, I don't think it's the end of the world. Plus, like,
Yeah,
we can always backdoor our way into Isaiah Likely.
true. Yeah, there's always Isaiah Likely waiting in the final round. That's a good point. But yeah, I wish we had taken one of them. Like maybe skip Darren Waller for this one, and gone with one of the Baltimore receivers. But not going to be a perfect draft. What are you going to do? Hopefully OBJ falls to us.
Yeah, that would be sick. I see they're going right now, those Baltimore receivers.
Yeah. I mean, we would be drafting OBJ a little bit ahead of ADP at our next pick, so there's some chance. There are I think people are going to be watching our show drafting with us who might not let us have that luxury, but if they're kind, if you guys are kind, you're going to let us have OBJ on our next turn.
I'm okay with Likely too, honestly.
Yeah, that's true. Like if for any reason Mark Andrews gets hurt, I think Likely is going to be a great value with that one of those final round picks.
Yeah, Monken used a ton of 2 tight ends at Georgia. He was also afforded the luxury of having 2 of the best tight ends in college. So it's a little different, but we've seen it before at least, which is something that we can utilize potentially.
Yeah. Felix asking, do you think Peyton will go with a 2-back system? What do you think, Matt?
He does have a history of that. We've seen it with Ingram and Kamara.
Yeah.
And you can go back a little further and look at some of the other RBs they've had in their history. So yeah, I think he wants to use that, but I don't think it has anything to do with Javonte's injury at this point. I think it's more or less he prefers having guys that he can spell each other, keep them fresh, and they've been successful doing that. So to that point, I don't think like P. Ryan is worthless in drafts. If he gets to a point, I'm going to draft him too. But when you look at some of the upside those backs have had in New Orleans, even in a 2-back system, there is a lot of upside here, especially where Javonte is going. Even if he's not, that Tony Pollard, Nick Chubb level in terms of touches.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like early on people were drafting Samaje Perine under the assumption that that Javonte was not going to be ready, like that he was going to miss, 4 to 6 weeks, and you were going to get Samaje Perine as the RB wonder in those weeks. But yeah, I think he's still a fine handcuff / like 3rd down back option.
I think he's a worse Mark Ingram.
Okay, that seems reasonable. I like that you have Daniel Jones pretty high too.
Yeah, I just had to write an article about that.
I've been drafting a ton of Daniel Jones. Part of the beautiful thing about Daniel Jones is also like you can draft almost all of his receivers later. Like he's one, like if all of your other stacks fall through, Daniel Jones is like, man, well, he's a great quarterback, and for some reason his ADP is to me further down than it should be. So there's a lot to like there.
Yeah, I think this is a good one to talk about. And I'm really curious what the argument on people is for, and like Jones is a guy you can wait on. So we currently have him ranked like really close to Trevor Lawrence and Tua Tagovailoa, which seems to be a tier break. But people are putting Daniel Jones with Anthony Richardson, Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott. I can't see the upside case if they all play 17 games, how Daniel Jones doesn't score more than them. Just none of them run. There's no upside with the legs.
You say, I thought you said Anthony Richardson in there, but I think
he's the only one that has mobility. He's also like a different test case because he can't throw.
Right. It's like totally different. Like
yeah.
No idea what to expect from Anthony Richardson this year.
But like Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, in a 17-game season, I don't understand how they score more points than Daniel Jones. Last year was the test case. Daniel Jones had a career year efficiency-wise, with his 3 leading receivers being Darius Slayton, Isaiah Hodges, and Richie James. They've upgraded that significantly. And then Brian Daboll, second year with Daniel Jones, he's the one that first unlocked Josh Allen's mobility. And we just saw Daniel Jones over 700 rushing yards, and he only ran 7.5 times per game. So, I mean, like, Dak Prescott doesn't run at all. He's been declining in terms of efficiency. He now has Mike McCarthy calling plays, who ruined an offense in Green Bay that had Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. Like I just, and plus they go from Kellen Moore, who was basically top 3 in plays per game for every year he was in Dallas, to Mike McCarthy, who was in the 20s consistently towards the end of his tenure with Green Bay. So I don't think Dallas is going to be fast. I think Mike McCarthy could ruin Dak Prescott's efficiency that's already declining. I cannot fathom having Dak over Daniel Jones.
OBJ just went.
Looks like Isaiah Likely late then.
Yeah, Isaiah Likely is our whatever. We got Lamar Jackson. That was a mistake on my part, clearly, to not take Rashad Bateman there. But that's what are you gonna do? Some of these live drafts, you get people in here who want to screw your draft for some reason rather than going after their own guys. I don't get it.
So with Daniel Jones, he's same buy as Lamar, right?
Yeah. Yep.
We're gonna need a third then.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, is it worth going after Daniel Jones here, even though he has the same buy as Lamar, and then just take like a last round quarterback who can get us some points in week 13?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
All right. Rondale Moore looks like a guy that you have far ahead of ADP as well. Like you have him ahead of Njoku, Tua. His ADP is just 131.5. I think it's been rising since DeAndre Hopkins got cut, but
yeah, that's a spot where I would maybe just wait and look at a different player and bank on,
because
I think
he'll
be there for us. Yeah.
All right. So I think we go Daniel Jones here. Who else do you like?
I do think Jacoby Myers is fine. I think we could scroll down and find a receiver that has a higher ADP that maybe we're a little lower on. Tyler Boyd, I think, is great. He's someone I would take here. There's a lot of ways for him to succeed. His ADP is pretty high in this range.
So my only thought is, do we want to be setting up another stacking option for like really late round, which I guess Jacoby Myers could be that guy. Although, wait, he's also by week 13, so that would not work. All right. I mean,
I don't care about late round stacks. They're pretty easy to get.
All right. So maybe we go Tyler Boyd here. Is that your favorite?
He makes sense with the ADP.
Yeah,
because we can get most of our other receivers, I think, in the next round. Plus, the reason he's projected low is because if you give, T. Higgins has been hurt a lot recently, which has kind of elevated some receivers. But if you do get an entry to Higgins or Jamar Chase, God forbid, Boyd is going to be a projection monster. So he's a player that's a little lower in rankings, but just know that we have full seasons projected for Higgins and Chase. If one of them goes down, Boyd would shoot up. So there's a little bit of asymmetric upside.
Yep.
I think you asked me a question. Sorry, I forgot what it was.
I think I was just asking you about whether we should go after Daniel Jones when we already have Lamar Jackson. I'm trying to remember if I have any other questions there.
You were asking about setting up a stack. I remember what I was going to say.
Yep.
With the late round quarterbacks, we've got CJ Stroud, we've got Bryce Young, we've got Sam Howell. Those guys are really easy to set up late round stacks with. With Stroud, you've got basically every one of his pass catchers going late. I think the highest one's either Dalton Schultz or Nico Collins, depending on your format. But then you've got late round guys, like you could basically tack on a Tank Dell or a Robert Woods or a John Mechie with some of your last picks. Same thing with Carolina. Mingo goes a little bit earlier, but you've also got Chark and you've got tight end Ian Thomas and Adam Thielen, who's a player I don't personally like, but to the point of being able to stack late. Mac Jones, another great example. Devontae Parker, you've both of their tight ends, really easy to stack him late. So rather than, force a stack with these mid-round guys, I'm certainly okay with foregoing maybe a 4 stack and then just trying to backdoor one of those late round stacks. Jordan Love's another great example. You could stack him with any of the receivers really late.
Yep. No, I've been drafting a lot of, and we talked about Bryce Young being somebody that you are high on relative to the field. So you have Bryce Young coming up. So we've got Aaron Rodgers, and then you have Bryce Young as your next best in terms of ranking, well ahead of what the ADP is here. You've got him ahead of, DJ Chark, KJ Osborne, Geno Smith, who has an ADP of 114, way ahead of Bryce Young. You've got Bryce Young ranked ahead of him. So that feels like a spot that, like, if we could get Bryce Young maybe around where is the next turn? We don't want him in the next turn. I think we'd maybe the turn after that. What do you think about taking him here?
I love Bryce Young. I'm getting a ton of him, as you can imagine. I think the difference between him and all these other quarterbacks is he can run. Geno can't run. Jordan Love, I think he can. He hasn't been asked to in about 6 years. Russell Wilson can't run. Pickett can't run. Stroud can. You can get him way later. Goff can't run. Carr can't run. Stafford can't run. Purdy can't run. You have so much asymmetric upside with Bryce Young. he's going way too low in my opinion.
Should I throw Devin Duvernay in the queue, or is it worth to just not even take him if would not
Dude, I
take
wouldn't
this
take
back?
Devin Duvernay.
You would not take Duvernay? Yeah, I feel like
No.
you can get more talented. I think that's probably if I had zero stacking at that point, I might consider it. I'm not drafting him anywhere else. Maybe this can be one of my 2 Devin Duvernay lineups across 500. But yeah, that's not somebody that I feel like there's more upside in other receivers there.
Yeah, I think so too. One last thing on Bryce Young. I mean, they've invested a ton. Now, some of it I think can be debated how efficient it's going to be, but I mean, you go from having that travesty of a skill position group. They trade McCaffrey halfway through the year. Now they bring in Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, a second round pick, and Jonathan Mingo. They're trying. I mean, it's better than what it was last year. You bring in Hayden Hurst at tight end. I mean, he's a significant upgrade on Ian Thomas. Somebody should be punished for having Ian Thomas starting for as many years as they did. That was a complete travesty in Carolina. And then, yeah, you lose McCaffrey, kind of a move you have to make given your roster. But you upgrade Chuba Hubbard to Miles Sanders. His skill position group's actually pretty good.
Yeah. What do you think of Terrace Marshall as a last round pick?
I think he's okay. I don't see him really beating out any of those other 3 guys.
Okay.
Even Adam Thielen serves a role. He's probably just going to be your underneath possession receiver in the slot.
I've drafted a good amount of Terrace Marshall, so I don't love your lack of enthusiasm for him, but
I don't know.
It's probably fair. Yeah.
It's so hard to separate his performance from what the previous regime did.
I know.
Because he came in with a lot of draft capital, a lot of hype. He was in the same draft class as, Justin Jefferson. He was actually a higher recruit than them. Performed, at least when he was healthy in college, similarly. So I don't know. There's a lot of hype, but we'll see. He's got to show it.
Yep. All right. Here's another guy that you like significantly more than I do. You have Raheem Mostert ranked very well here. He's someone that I have not been drafting because to me, he's almost interchangeable with Jeff Wilson as they're injury prone backs in a committee here. It's hard to say who's going to really get the starters workload or if it's going to be all that significant, the starter versus the backup. So I've been inclined to just wait for Jeff Wilson. Do you seems like you like Raheem Mostert quite a bit though?
Yeah, I pulled up the projections. We don't have a huge difference between them. I think it's just the fact that Raheem Mostert's been way more efficient than Wilson. And historically, he's played ahead of Wilson. Going back to San Francisco, we have a pretty big sample of these 2 together, and it's been Mostert ahead of Wilson. So right now, rush attempts, I have Raheem Mostert at 127, Wilson at 102. So it's not drastically different, but I think that is enough to basically give you a gap where ADP doesn't have it.
Okay.
Right, that's the explanation and how I got to where the projections are.
Makes sense. All right. So we are coming up here. If we want to try to set up a Carolina stack, we could go DJ Chark here.
Honestly, I think I prefer the Dalton Schultz backdoor Stroud stack.
I like that. Also, Stroud goes, I think, a little bit later than Bryce Young. So that's helpful. All right. So Dalton Schultz, who else do you like here?
Let's see here. It's basically a lot of QBs and tight ends at the top, it looks like.
Yeah.
I think we're pretty loaded at running back for them. We addressed that pretty early. We could look at a receiver.
All right.
Is there anyone down in ADP we've missed on? I don't think so.
Yeah, Thielen, I don't think either of us love Thielen here.
So we're taking our second tight end, correct?
We are taking our second tight end. I keep on forgetting that I have all these players queued, so I need to actually click take the player instead of letting it run down. All right.
Yeah. I would go up and take a receiver then probably. I think we could take
Chark is top of the board here in terms of receivers.
We could take Chark and then see what happens with Bryce Young and Stroud. If Young falls to us, we'll take him.
I like that. I like that approach. And then we can theoretically, if neither of them,
we should probably take Mingo over him because we might be able to get Chark later. Well, the deed is done.
Yeah. Either I feel like I have Chark ranked higher than Mingo. I have actually started taking Mingo earlier just because of you can usually get Chark later, but
yeah, you just make a lot of assumptions with Mingo, but I understand rookies generally perform a little bit better late in the year as they get acclimated. Sort of your money weeks, that's when your rookies pop off, but they can also be straight zeros. One thing we know is Chark's not a straight zero. I think the upside may be questionable, but also has sort of your game-breaking ability with his skill set.
Yeah.
Agreed. So where are we now in terms of roster allocation?
NPC just asked us to go to dark mode, please. So I found where that was. I don't think I've ever done dark. I think I have dark mode on my phone. I don't think I've ever used it on online or on the web browser. So that's good to see. Freshka, good to see you. Says I love best ball. I know you do. We talk best ball a good amount. All right, so we have Lamar Jackson and Daniel Jones. We still need one more quarterback because we went with both have 13 bye week 13. We got Bijan, Alexander Madison, and Javonte Williams. I think that's a strong start. I think we got them all at ADPs that I like them at. So I think we are looking pretty good at running back. We'll need to take obviously one more at least, but at most two more. I think we're looking pretty strong there. Wide receiver, we've got Amon Ra, Keenan Allen, Chris Godwin, Tyler Boyd. Oh, that's another. We could just go Baker Mayfield last round with Chris Godwin.
Yeah, the only thing I'm worried is him not starting the whole year.
All that I care about is if he starts week 13, which is probably that. Like I would guess he's more likely to start the season as a starter and then lose the job. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. Reports are they're kind of like 50-50, but I don't know if I buy the reports. They might just be being nice to Kyle Trask having been in the system for 2 years and done nothing. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to like. I've drafted early on. I was drafting a lot of Baker Mayfield. I've kind of stopped doing it as much. But he's like just the fact that you can get him in the last round is like, yeah, he's a good like backup. Third quarterback maybe. But
yeah, I kind of view like Sam Howell the same way.
yeah, exactly.
But Sam Howell can run, which is something that's
Right.
awesome for him.
Baker, like, yeah, I'm not high on Baker as a quarterback, but he's got pretty like weapons where they're probably going to be throwing it a good amount. I don't know what the case is exactly for Baker, other than I would guess going to start. Like I think he's more likely than not going to be the starter. Looks like we might be
Yeah,
able to get Mingo here coming up. Probably not. We were still 9 picks away, but
that would be pretty sick. I'd be surprised, but it would be nice.
yeah. Unlikely. All right,
But
so
likely we get Isaiah Likely.
yes. If we are we gonna have to reach to get Isaiah Likely? Where do we
hope
pick?
not.
I mean, we'd be picking him like right at ADP if we wait until the final round. I think it's like I think you and I are both okay with having naked Lamar Jackson, so maybe not worth it to reach it around early.
Of all the QBs, I'm most comfortable with Lamar and Fields naked.
Yeah, agreed.
Just with how their points are scored.
Yeah. So yeah, we don't have to. We can if it comes to us, it comes to. The only other thing is we do have I guess so we have Schultz now. So we already have our bye week fill in with Darren Waller. Okay,
Schultz is
Jonathan
good,
Mingo.
dude.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like he's in a good like he could be the top receiving option there in Houston.
I think he is. Unless we get something weird like Mechie actually balls out, but
Nico Collins, you don't see him as a threat.
I do see Nico Collins as a threat. I went back and looked at his stats. Pretty decent yards per route run with Nico Collins. It was better than I thought, honestly. He's a guy I've been taking a lot of. But I mean, these backdoor CJ Stroud stacks are so easy to get.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of CJ Stroud and Bryce Young have been like the two quarterbacks that I just like. Yeah, if my early stacks don't work out, I'm just going to go after them because I already like the ADPs are right. I think or like maybe even a little bit like I don't know. I like the ADPs of the receiving options for both Carolina and Houston.
Yeah, I think there's this disconnect with the rookies right now where Anthony Richardson's being drafted, as if he's Justin Fields light already. And then you have CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, who can both move, being drafted as
we are
if.
Up next, by the way.
All right, well, I'll save this discussion for when we are done.
All right. Do we want Bryce Young at the 156, 157 turn? This is well past where you have him ranked.
I think we can still wait.
All right. We can try to wait one more. All right. Who do you like here?
I guess we could take him. I mean,
that's the thing. It's like we could probably wait, but also I don't see anybody else that I'm dying to get.
Me either.
All right. So now we have another pick here. Do you want to take a shot on Raheem Mostert, Deontay Foreman? Mostert
we
is
just see the running backs.
Yep.
Yeah. Is there anyone we're low on?
Jerome Ford would be next in terms of ADP.
I would not take him. He doesn't have a role right away.
Okay.
So it would be Mostert for me.
All right, we'll do it.
That is egregious.
I'm not drafting much Mostert at all. So here's one of your bigger outliers, by the way, is Chase Edmonds. It has an ADP of 216, and you have him ranked pretty high above a lot of other running backs here, which is interesting.
Yeah, big disconnect for people's not knowing Tampa Bay's actual backfield. Go like for those of you watching, go pull up Tampa Bay's roster right now. Now, with that said, they've been a team that has been linked to some of these running backs. But say they go into the year with this backfield: Rachaad White, Chase Edmonds, Keyshawn Vaughn, Patrick Laird, and Sean Tucker, day 3 rookie out of Syracuse. This is one of the worst backfields in the NFL. In that case, Chase Edmonds is going to have a role. There's a chance he has one regardless. So, I mean, just from a raw projection standpoint, something has to give right now. We either have Rachaad White projected like Tony Pollard, or we have Chase Edmonds and some of these other backs projected for something. But if you think that someone's going to come in and sign there, maybe you're a little weary.
I'm looking at, I pulled up Felix's. Wait, do I have? No, this is ours. I had pulled up Felix's because Felix said that he is done at wide receiver. Yeah, Felix, of course, got Najee, as he does in every single draft. All right, Felix got. Am I still on Felix here?
Yeah, no, it's back to us.
It keeps. I don't know why it bounces back to us every time somebody makes a pick, apparently. But yeah, looks like a good wide receiver core here for Felix.
Yeah, it's really good. Invested a lot in there. A lot of youth too.
I don't hate Gerald Everett as a TE1. Like, I think that he has upside to be a lot better than he was last year.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about any tight end builds. You can get so many good guys late.
Yeah. All right. So we have Lamar Jackson, Daniel Jones. I should throw in Carolina. Probably not taking Hayden Hurst. I don't think we want a 4th tight end when we have very good tight ends already.
I guess could be our 3rd.
Yeah, I was thinking that we had Mark Andrews, but we don't. So actually, we could.
Yeah, completely fine with Hurst. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody where really we have all our quarterbacks stacked right now, except for Lamar, and I don't think we're going to get him.
Yeah, unless we take, I mean, we can wait till the final round. If Isaiah Likely's there, would you take Hayden Hurst over Isaiah Likely if they're both available?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Hayden Hurst is going to play like every snap.
Yeah.
I think Hayden Hurst is a great late round guy.
Yeah, no, he's somebody that as we talk about how easy it is to stack these later round quarterbacks, like he's one that certainly, another back end way to do that, to get a stack at the end.
For sure.
All right, looks like this coming up round is where we're probably going to take at least one wide receiver from the Giants. So do you feel strongly about your ranking of the Giants receivers here?
Not really. I think I'm generally siding with ADP more than my own rankings because I have them basically even.
Right.
It's really hard with these guys.
Oh man, Paris Campbell has come up. He was a guy that I could get in the 18th round consistently. Not more than like a week or two ago. He has apparently come up quite a bit. There's been a lot of buzz about like Paris Campbell and Daniel Jones having a lot of chemistry, looking really good this summer. So kind of disappointed to see him rising a little bit more. But
yeah, I'm out on him at this cost. There's just so many outs to him failing. First of all, he's sucked everywhere he's been. Second, you have other players that play his position with higher investments. So I don't really see it unless like Wandale and Sterling both aren't ready for a majority of the season. Like, who does he beat out? He plays a different position than Hyatt, different position than Hodgins, different position than even Darius Slayton. I think there's a lot of ways he doesn't get on the field.
Interesting.
But like to your point, at his previous ADP, that's where I would like to take the shots on Paris Campbell, late round guy.
Agreed. So I was drafting a good amount, and now I'm like, at this ADP, I'm probably just not going to get to him a ton. Maybe because I am still drafting Daniel Jones a good amount, maybe I'll land on there some. But Jalen Hyatt's a guy. To be honest, I have not drafted a ton of Jalen Hyatt. I don't know much about him. To be honest, tell me about Jalen Hyatt a little bit.
He's a rookie out of Tennessee, 2nd round pick, absolute burner. He's their downfield threat. Played some pretty good competition. He's the guy that scored 5 touchdowns against Alabama. A little bit of a late bloomer there with Tennessee, but they also went through a coaching change when he was on campus. And they finally got in a competent OC and signal caller. So that sort of explains away the late sort of rise for Jalen Hyatt. But yeah, absolute burner, field stretcher. He should be playing the perimeter.
Okay, don't take him, Felix. You said you're done at wide receiver. I see you thinking about it.
I think Hyatt has a lot of upside. He's a guy, conversely, that's like gotten negative camp buzz. But I mean, there's so many examples of this where
like Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase is a great example. Like, I don't remember who the guy was in their camp getting buzzed. It was like Alec Erickson or something. It's like Alex Erickson's catching everything his way. Jamar Chase is struggling with drops.
Right.
Could Alex Erickson start over Jamar Chase this year? It's like, no, he can't.
Yeah, was it? I'm trying to remember who it was. All right, Felix going with Jawan Johnson. I like that pick up. 177. Jawan Johnson feels pretty
Are you
late.
worried about logjam at tight end?
You mean all these people taking tight ends? You mean this?
No,
like,
I mean Jawan Johnson's like logjam at tight end on his own team
with Taysom Hill.
Yeah, did they not sign Foster Moreau too?
Oh, did they sign Foster Moreau? I did not even realize that.
Yeah, they have Foster Moreau as well.
All right, so I think we take one of these New York receivers here.
Agreed.
We could go with Hayden Hurst, or we could go with, I don't know. What do you think? So let's go with Hyatt. I don't have many shares of Hyatt, so I kind of like the idea of going there, following ADP.
Me too. Like Hyatt a lot.
All right, and then who else do you like here?
I do like Hayden Hurst. I think we could get a receiver as well if we wanted, just better available receivers. Renfro's a guy I'm still drafting quite a bit. He could easily be the wide receiver 2 there.
Yeah, I've been drafting a ton of Renfro. I like him at this ADP quite a bit. Should we just go there?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
And then hopefully one of those tight ends falls back to us, Hayden Hurst or Isaiah Likely.
He's got a bad contract, so there have been rumors that he might get cut. Hasn't happened yet, but I mean,
he's going to go somewhere if he gets cut.
He's going to go somewhere if he gets cut, and I think he's better than Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, so last year he was hurt most of the year, if I remember correctly.
The year
correct. Prior to that, he was great. Like he was. I think I drafted a ton of him last year too. And then now it's like you can get him so cheap. Nobody's taking him. I don't know. He was so good 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising to me how low he is. I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of good late round guys, and to your point at tight end, like. We didn't go this route, but you see Logan Thomas on the screen right there. I mean, the enemy came out and said he's going to use Logan Thomas like Travis Kelce.
I saw that.
One of the most laughable quotes I've ever heard. But what I took out of it is I don't think Logan Thomas is leaving the field a lot. If you need, like, say you miss on some of these QBs, they get sniped in front of you. You can backdoor your way into a Sam Howell stack so easily with Logan Thomas. And I don't think he's leaving the field.
I think Logan Thomas is another example of somebody who's just like, I mean, we're worried about the concussions. Like he's either going to play a lot, and I mean, it's not really totally bimodal. There's actually a wide range of outcomes, but I think he could be very, very good as a last round pick. I think he is a talented tight end. If he can stay healthy, could look great, especially, with it. At least tells you like they want to be using him. They want to be like getting him the ball some. If they claim they're going to use him like Travis Kelce, that's it. It's not a bad thing. Like it's obviously, as you said, it's laughable, but like the fact that they believe in his talent and want to use him, that's definitely a good thing as far as. But then he also just like could get hurt at any minute. Like he just has not been able to stay on the field. So I don't know.
Yeah, they had the ACL. What round are we in now, Neil?
We are in round 16.
16, so we've got 17, 18 left.
Yep.
We're gonna probably get a third tight end. Where do you want to go with our last pick? Maybe a receiver.
We could go with Chase Edmonds too. So we have 3 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 7 wide receivers, and 2 tight ends.
Who are the available running backs? Can we pull that up quickly? I see Leonard Fournette, but
yep, Leonard Fournette, Chase Edmonds. We do have. I think the MLB strategy show is coming up, so we're gonna have to end this like immediately when we get there.
That's okay. If we can cut it whenever we need to. We kind of talked to what we're going through. We're probably going to end up with a tight end to backdoor one of our stacks, and then it's basically a debate between a late round receiver and a late round RB. And I think a lot of that's just going to be who's available.
Yep, agreed.
So we can cut out and not screw them over.
Okay. All right. I guess we should probably do that. Maybe I'll post the full team after we're done. But and nobody has said anything to me, but I think that we are running up right into the start of that.
We are. They start in 1 minute.
Okay. All right, guys. Then we are going to have to cut this a little bit early. We're hoping to get one more of those, one of these tight ends, and then we're just going to go for talent at wide receiver and running back. But we are going to have to end this stream a little bit early before we actually finish the draft. We're going to be doing plenty of these drafts, so throughout the summer. Thank you guys so much for watching. Matt, do you have any final words?
No, thank you guys for being here. Looking forward to doing this all summer with you, Neil, and with the people.
Yeah, and please do hit the like button if you haven't already, and check out MLB Live Before Lock and Deeper Dive coming up next. Thank you guys very much. Good luck.